What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this video, we have our experiences with healthcare in the Netherlands. Before we dive into this video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's get right to it.
Doctors in the Netherlands have a reputation for prescribing paracetamol for everything. Got the flu? Paracetamol. Broke your arm? Paracetamol. But is that actually true?
Paracetamol.
In today's episode, we're going to share our experience.
There was another YouTuber from the Netherlands. I think it's Sky TV. I can't remember what the exact name was saying. Yeah, this paracetamol is like heals everything. So I guess it's a cure-all drug.
Experience with healthcare in the Netherlands. Everything from visiting your house arts to going to a specialist.
Welcome to Bun Chatted, the podcast from Buncharted. I'm Alex.
And I'm Michelle. How's it going?
You always ask me, but
That's just a nicety, you know?
but I know you already
How
have
you
something
doing?
prepared to talk about.
I do.
Do you actually care how I'm doing?
I kind of know how you're doing
I was
today.
going to say,
actually
this
care
isn't
how
like
I'm
it's the
doing.
first time we've spoken to each other today.
Yeah, that's true. So, I have a very sad topic to talk about today.
All right, I'm ready.
It is the discontinuation of Hoopjes in the
Oh,
Netherlands.
Okay.
It's
Yes,
very sad.
many people have reached out to us about this,
Yes, so many people
which
on
I love.
Instagram who
I love that people are like, oh,
yeah,
Alex and Michelle need to know about
people
this.
who have never talked to us on Instagram before messaged us specifically to tell us
It's
this.
really interesting too because like I didn't even I didn't know about it.
no.
Like I'm pretty good about I read the news fairly regularly, and I'm just surprised that like it wasn't bigger news.
I know. And it hurts because this is actually a very unique candy, one of the very first candies that we tried when we moved here.
I'm pretty sure like I went to get it because I read about it on some blog that was like must have Dutch foods or
Yeah.
something. So I
Oh.
mean it's not like it's like I feel like it's somewhat tied to like the national identity of the Netherlands.
I know, but it's
maybe
going
less so
away.
now. Yeah.
I think it is. One of the things that I read in the article was that just the sales of them have gone down significantly. And they've actually,
Even though we featured them in one of our videos last year.
I know. Can you imagine? Can you believe it? They must
Wow.
have been really hurting before
Oh
that.
my gosh.
I mean, the sales have been so poor that they said they took them out of the majority of grocery stores like 6 months ago.
That sounded like
And
it was gonna be like a punchline. How low are they?
they're so low they actually remove them from the grocery stores and no one noticed.
No, it's actually not funny. It's sad.
No, it's really sad. So I
Yeah.
went to the grocery store looking for them. I found the area of the candy aisle where they were, and lo and behold, it was the Napoleon brand of them.
Did they like acquire the recipe?
No, I think they've always
Made a
them.
copycat?
Yeah, they've always made the copycat, but that's just now the replacement, which we should try them because
Yeah.
Napoleon makes really good hard candies.
Yeah.
So I feel like if anyone can come close to it,
Yeah, coffee is a really tough flavor profile in my experience.
yeah, but you know.
All right, I'll try them.
So speaking of eating too much candy,
Yep,
if you eat too much candy, you might have to go to the doctor.
well done.
Thank you. And the doctor, or your house arts, as they call it in the Netherlands, is kind of like your gatekeeper to your healthcare experience. So pretty much anytime you have an issue or you have an illness, you're going to go to your house arts here. And that's a little different than it is in the United States.
Well, in the United States, you would just go to the pharmacy and then treat yourself.
Exactly.
Facts.
All joking aside,
The end.
yeah, it's a little different than in the U.S. because I mean, actually, there are still a lot of people who that is the norm for.
Yeah.
And historically, that was also the norm in the U.S. as well. But I think health insurance companies realize that they can provide a premium health insurance product that they can charge more for if they allow you to go directly to specialists and skip the GP altogether. It's called a PPO. And I think,
Wow. Good job.
well, I was usually
Oh,
the one that
every
picked the
day.
insurance
Okay.
in our relationship, and I continue to be.
Yeah, you do.
And I don't know. I think that for some folks moving here, I think PPOs by now or something like that are the norm in the U.S.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not always the case, but I think people might be a little surprised to know that when they come here, they can't just go to
Yeah, you
whatever
can't just
doctor they want.
schedule that test.
Yeah, I don't know too much about healthcare insurance here in the U.S. I was under my dad's insurance for so long until I was 25, but I don't know exactly what the insurance was. But after that, I've just been uninsured since because it is expensive. It's an expensive monthly bill. I just don't got the funds to pay right now. So fingers crossed. I'm just hoping that my health continues to stay in good form, and maybe by next year, I'll be able to afford some type of health care. But yeah, so I'm not sure what a PPO is or any other types of insurance. I just know healthcare insurance in the U.S. can be expensive.
You're
Hospital or schedule that test with your specialist.
Yeah, even though, and when I moved here, I do go to a specialist, and I've been going to specialists regularly in the U.S. But even when I moved here, I had to coordinate that through. I couldn't just call the hospital and be like, "Hey, I need to meet with this person."
Yeah, you got to get that referral, and then you're free to go to your specialist. But you
Yeah,
want to start
exactly.
with the referral at your house arts. But before we get to the house arts, we can back up a little bit and actually talk about obtaining health insurance.
Which you
in
need
the
to do here, which
Netherlands.
is also interesting.
Yes, you are required to do that, and it's something that you want to do right away when you first move here if you're moving to the Netherlands.
Well, after you establish residency, you can't
Yeah.
get it before that. They will backdate it back to the day that you
Which is
moved here.
nice.
Yes. But you can't just sign up and get it until you actually have a residence permit.
Yeah, and unlike the United States, your health insurance is not tied to your employment.
Yes, which is so nice.
Yes.
Even from like a mental perspective.
I
Yeah.
know.
It's nice knowing that like your job does not equate to your health.
Yeah,
I
so
feel
you're
that.
going to go and you're going
I
to
feel
find
that.
a health insurance company, and there are multiple ones that you need to choose from, and each health insurance company is going to have a set of plans, and all of those plans are going to satisfy that minimum requirement for health insurance by the government.
Yeah. So every year the government establishes what basic healthcare needs to include and what the price of that healthcare should be. So fundamentally, if you only need the basic healthcare plan, any of the insurance companies are going to provide you essentially the same service. The things that you're going to look for that helps you decide which insurance company you want to go with are one. In our case, when we moved here, we wanted one that had an English website. I mean, we've never switched from them because we've actually really liked them. We've never had a bad
We've
experience
been
with them.
fortunate enough, yeah.
But that was a factor when we moved here. And then two, in addition to the basic healthcare coverage, you may need to have additional things like add-ons. And each company is going to have a different set of add-ons, and they're going to charge a different amount for them. So the first year when we lived here, the company we worked with had we chose an add-on from them because you were on birth control, and when you're on, at least at the time, the basic healthcare plan only accommodated birth control until age 32.
But why did we do that add-on? Because I'm only 25.
Yes, that's true.
That's confusing.
Yeah, well, we were planning for the future.
Yeah, you're a planner.
I am a planner.
We're planning for
But
the
it was
future.
we realized after 1 year that it was actually cheaper just to get the prescription medication at full cost and not pay for the add-on, because we're paying for a bunch of stuff that we're not using too.
Yeah.
And the thing which is interesting because prescription medication in the U.S. is always like, when it's not covered by insurance, is like outrageously expensive.
It's so expensive. Like when I had to
Crazy.
pay for birth control out of pocket in the United States, I remember it being like $78 for a month's supply.
Yeah, and
and
that
here it was
is
like
crazy.
9 or 10.
Yeah, like wrapping your of course we're gonna get
It's literally insane. My wife, we just had our child not too long ago, and got back on birth control, and there was this one birth control that they prescribed at her doctor's office, and with insurance, because she does have insurance, thank Lord. With insurance, it was $60. I mean, the birth control was really good. When she was taking it, she really felt no kind of side effects, shorter periods, all these things. I know how she talks to me about all these things, so I have to hear them. But yeah, it was really good for her. But then next month, for some reason, the insurance wouldn't cover this birth control, and it shot up to like $200 without it, which is why like 200. So we had to switch to a different brand. Her insurance did cover, I think, and she paid like $5 to $10 out of pocket. But that is with insurance, and it's not as great like side effects wise. But I guess as long as it's doing the job, then you just go with it. But yeah, that's crazy. So no insurance in the Netherlands. You're only gonna pay like $10 for birth control. This is with no. That's really nice. That just. I mean, it goes to show you, like, in the U.S., it almost feels like you're being ripped off. Like, if you don't have insurance, these costs are absolutely ridiculous to me.
The add-on, because like to
Yeah.
us, the cost of getting a prescription medication without insurance would just be insane.
Yeah, you felt like it was a no-brainer, but
Yeah.
when you actually looked at it, you
Yeah.
were like, oh, it's really not worth it.
Yeah. So we actually, I think we've only been on the basic for the last 2 years. Plus, we also do pay for world insurance, so we can travel and get our urgent medical needs covered if something does come up.
Very
You can
nice.
turn it on and off that as you travel, I think, and save some money, but it's just easier for us just to like set it and forget it. But when you get your insurance plan, I think every insurance company in the EU will by default cover you for the EU.
Yeah, which
So
is
that's-
really nice.
Yeah, it's super
Oh,
nice. So it's nice to
wow.
know we can at least travel around the EU without worrying about it. But if we didn't get the world
Very
travel
nice.
insurance, then I think we would be covered if something happened up to the equivalent cost in the Netherlands. But obviously, if you go to like the United States, that's
You're-
not going to
You're going to
come
be left
close
with
to
a
what.
huge bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, since we come home usually, or since we go to the U.S. once a year or so, that just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. But we haven't done it. It's been more than a year now.
It has,
So-
which is crazy.
But we're still paying for it just because it's easier. The one other thing I want to mention when it comes to selecting an insurance company is I do think in the last, and people can clarify in the comments if I'm wrong about this, in the last couple of years, I think they've allowed these companies to start having networks, which people, if you're listening from the United States, are going to be very familiar with the concept of in and
Yes.
out of network.
Yeah.
But I think that's a relatively new concept here in the Netherlands. So your house arts may or may not be in network with your insurance company. Your specialist may or may not be in network with your insurance company. We like our health insurance company because we pay, gosh, I think we pay a slight premium for this. I do not remember off the top of my head, so that we don't have to worry about a network. But that is a reality now.
Yeah.
It's like that might also dictate who you choose from.
Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier, we're lucky where we've been really satisfied with our insurance company, so we haven't had to change it. And I have had very minimal interactions with our insurance company. For the most part, it really just works.
Yeah.
There have been a few situations where I've had to submit a claim with them where it was like earlier before we actually had proof of insurance. And then you might work with a provider who doesn't actually like take your insurance, but the service is still covered, so you can submit for it. And that claim process was so much easier than it was in the United States. Like you just upload the invoice, it's 3 clicks, and I think they paid us.
Yeah, I remember when we got the reimbursement, I
Dang.
got a notification on my phone and you were like, what? I just submitted that.
Well, first you thought it was a debit because obviously, like an insurance.
yeah,
company's
right.
never gonna
Why would they
you-
give me money?
No, you're like, what is this for? And then, yeah, they paid us within 5 business days. I think
Yeah.
it was something that was more like 3.
Yeah.
And it was
Dang.
just such an easy process. And obviously, like, I was really stressed about it, about how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
But it was super easy, which was such a nice experience.
Yeah, I had to do it.
I feel like, yeah, those experiences are always nice when they can get resolved quickly and when you don't have to do much on your end. That definitely makes for easy. Again, I'm not too sure with the U.S.'s system of claims and all of this, but I'm going to assume that the U.S. and especially insurance they don't like to give money back to the consumer. And so I'm sure it takes longer because they're wanting to make sure that they can't get you on nothing and not be able to pay you. But it's really cool in the Netherlands that 3 business days is insane. That's amazing.
once in the US, and I remember I had to download a form and fill out a form, like a PDF form,
Probably like by hand.
probably by hand, and then I had to submit it using a form submission tool on their website, and it went into the ether. It went into a black box. I had no idea if I was going to get reimbursed. I had no idea when I was going to get reimbursed. I had no idea if it worked really.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I remember being really surprised. It did end up working. I got something back. I can't remember what, but I just remember being very surprised about the process because the whole thing seemed like it was meant to deter you from doing it, which probably
telling
is.
you.
Yeah, it
I'm
most
telling
certainly
you.
is. So moving on to your house arts experience. So again, you're going to start with your house arts in the Netherlands for the beginning of your journey, your concern, your illness, whatever it might be. But in the beginning, when you're looking for a house arts, here in the Netherlands, it's going to be dictated based on where you live.
And the network,
And
potentially.
yeah, potentially the network too. That's a good point. So you can kind of choose from the house arts in your general location, and you can't go like an hour away to find one, which also means if you move far enough away, you're probably going to have to select a different house arts.
Yeah.
I think there are some exceptions to that, like if all of the house arts in your general area have a really long wait list.
Which is also a thing that's happening
Yeah.
now, where I think the other reason that you may have to interact with your insurance company is asking them to help you find a house arts if you need one that doesn't have a wait list. Because I've heard, especially like stories up north, where people have said, like in Amsterdam, not like Friesland, maybe
Yeah.
in Friesland, but like that there aren't any, they keep calling house arts and they all say that they have a wait list and they're not accepting new patients. We have not had that experience, but we've only moved once. So we've only needed to find a house arts twice.
Yeah, we haven't bounced around too much.
Yeah.
So the difference in the actual house arts experience when you're visiting them versus visiting the doctor in the United States for us, there were some notable differences. And again, this is just our experience.
Yeah, this is a pretty limited.
Yeah.
We've
I-
had a lot more experiences with going to your GP in the United States.
Yeah, this is only our experience at our house arts, and I'm sure it will vary based on the house arts you go to, the location you're at, all of that stuff. But one thing that was really interesting to me is all of my house arts visits start at the desk. Like they're sitting behind the desk on their computer, you're sitting in front of them, and they actually just talk to you about what's happening. And you meet with the house arts, or maybe like the practitioner, I think is kind of like the equivalent, depending on the issue.
Yeah, like a nurse practitioner in the United States.
I think so, yeah. And you're having a conversation with them about the issue. And in the United States, the first person you meet with is actually the nurse who hops you up on the table. They take all of your vitals.
Yeah, they
and
take your blood pressure, they weigh you, they measure how tall,
how
they see
tall
your
you
height.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of these things.
Yeah.
And you tell them what's happening with you, and
Yeah.
then they leave. And then the doctor comes in an hour later.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have to re-explain all of those things to the doctor.
And then they literally tell you, they spend 30 seconds with you,
Yeah.
and then they leave.
And then they
Yep.
leave.
And you're
yeah.
done.
And then maybe the
Yeah.
nurse comes back to like follow up with you about what you should do. It's totally different here. So you're
That is the American experience 100% perfection. They down to an art, down to an absolute yeah. I can tell they've had plenty of experiences and with American doctors, because this is exactly how it goes in the hospitals.
meeting with the doctor for the most part, or that same person the entire visit, which is really interesting to me. And I really felt like the conversation flowed a bit better because you didn't have to repeat yourself multiple
It is
times.
odd that they don't check your vitals.
Yeah, they never check your vitals if it's not directly related
Exactly.
to your concern.
Yeah, and I think that was weird for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's probably sort of performative,
Yeah.
because like I mean, why is checking my weight and height important?
Yeah,
to-
it has nothing to do with why you're
Exactly.
visiting. Like, what does my blood
feel
pressure
that.
have to do with like this thing? that
Yeah,
I'm
it
going
doesn't
to-
seem super necessary.
Yeah.
But that said, that was a little. It feels much more like a meeting versus like going
I
to
feel
like.
I guess I don't know why they do it, but I would just like assume maybe like if you're overweight for your height, maybe that could be helping cause certain issues, or if your blood pressure's high or things such as that, maybe that could be causing issues with whatever the problem you came in for. So I'm not exactly sure, but I'm gonna make an assumption, but I don't know.
A doctor, like in like the scary sense.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true of meeting with the specialist too. So when I went to go see a specialist, I have I guess I'll just say I have a kidney problem, and then it also makes it so that I have high blood pressure. It's all under control, and it has been since before we moved here. But I have to meet with a nephrologist regularly. And when I went here, I had no idea what to expect. I've also go to the hospital for it. Like I think specialists tend to work at hospitals.
Yeah.
And it was a similar thing where like when I go there, and instead of them like quote unquote checking my vitals and having a nurse do it, when I sit down for the appointment, and this might just be like, this is my one experience.
It's true.
It's a regular experience, but it's just one doctor. They actually like hooked me up to like a heart or a blood pressure monitoring machine. So it checks my blood pressure like 3 times. And there's like a 1-minute break or something in between. It's like a whole thing.
Oh,
Whereas like in the United
wow.
States, they've got the like the squishy thing.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do
Yeah.
it once and that's it. Like it
Yeah.
feels much more like they're accurately measuring my blood pressure because they actually want to know what it is because it's important to the problem that I'm having.
Yeah.
And it has
I feel
nothing
that.
like it's not just like this thing that they're doing.
where they check it once where it's like, oh, it could be totally wrong that
Yes.
time.
And then when I meet with the specialist, it's the exact same thing. Like I don't like sit on a thing that has the paper on it.
Yeah.
They do have that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't change it to a gown or anything
No,
like that?
I just
No.
sit down and he's at his desk and we just talk about stuff. It's actually like,
Like sports and...
yeah. And when yes, exactly. Yeah. We just shoot the shit. And then if I need to get blood taken, there's like an area of the hospital that's just dedicated specifically for that. It's probably a little bit more par for the course of what people are expecting.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting because like the actual, like there's like a hospital element, hospital component, but like the
Yeah.
rest of it just feels very much like, I don't know, like you're meeting with someone to discuss your
Like a bigger doctor's
circumstance.
office. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like to me, from what kind of how they're explaining it, it's more like of a personable experience, where it seems like they're really kind of trying to get to know you and figure out, and ask questions and kind of whatever they can to help you out. But they're talking with you. They're having that conversation. I feel like as a patient, that would make you feel better. It'll make you feel like, hey, they're truly like trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Whereas in the U.S., when you get the nurse and then you get the doctor come in for 30 seconds, it almost feels like do they really care? I know with my wife, with her pregnancy, we had preeclampsia, and she like was never diagnosed, and we kept telling her, hey, she's having high blood pressure. Hey, she's having she's swelling, and so she's swelling a lot, and hey, and they were like, oh, that's just normal. That's and it just seems like, hey, like they're not listening because she should have been diagnosed much earlier, and we ended up having some issues, which I don't want to go into details about, but it was just absolutely frustrating. Where it seems as in the Netherlands, hey, the doctor sits there, you have a conversation. It sounds like they really listen, and so I feel like that's a really great experience.
The other thing that's really interesting is there's no money exchanged.
Well,
There's-
I slip a 20 to my doctor just to get a little
But
bit better service.
that's your choice.
I'm just kidding. I don't do that.
There's no money exchange. So there's no copay that you have to pay
Love
before
that.
you actually see
Love
the doctor. There's nothing that you have to settle afterwards.
This
where you
couch is
just-
so uncomfortable.
I know you're moving around.
I
a
remember
lot.
last week
Oh,
we had the pillows. Yeah.
That's what's missing.
pillows.
Yeah, we really do. Oh, we should do that this
Sorry.
week.
I'm gonna have to see the doctor about this. You know what I'm saying?
But you slipped him the 20, so it's okay.
I don't. Yeah, my nephrologist is probably gonna be a little irked if I call him and talk about my back.
Maybe. No, so yeah, no money exchange. You don't have to, like, once you're done with the appointment, you just leave
Yes.
at the end of the doctor's visit, which is very interesting because that's quite different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because going to see the doctor here is free. Mm-hmm. The other stuff might not be, and it is probably covered by your insurance. And if it's not, you have a deductible that goes up to a certain point. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
I-
but it'll all
will-
be
will we
billed
talk
and
about that?
figured out. No, we didn't talk about that.
Okay, but I mean,
No.
we did. There's a deductible. It's much lower than it tends to be in the United States. None of the services are outrageously priced. You get the bill if you get a bill from your insurance company
Afterwards.
Afterwards.
Yeah. So there's really no reason to go back to the front desk after your house arts
No,
visit.
which was also really weird.
I know. I think for the first like 4 times that I visited, I was like, so I can leave right now, and they're like,
Yes.
yeah, you can just go.
Right. Well, the doctor being free, I think the distinction there is like whenever we complain about the lack of over-the-counter medication, everyone's like, well, why don't you just go to the doctor? It's free. And that is like, that's a huge mental hurdle, I think, for people to overcome that are coming
Yeah.
from another country is
Yeah.
like, there is no reason not to go to the doctor here.
You just go.
Yeah, like you just go, it's in your neighborhood, you pop in, you tell them you're sick, and more often than not, I don't think they're going to give you anything. They're going to wait. They have like the wait and see mentality. Like
Yeah.
you joked about it at the beginning of the episode about paracetamol. I think more often than not, it's less about paracetamol and more about that being a means to allow you a little bit more time to quote unquote wait and see what happens. But I mean, they will give you medication if you need it, when you need it. But the reality is I think more often than not, doctors here tend to just only prescribe what's necessary once it's like really necessary. But it doesn't matter if you feel remotely justified that you need to go see a doctor. There's nothing in front of you that is going to keep you from doing that because it's free.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst case scenario, you walk out of there and just, have to take a little bit of Tylenol and they'll check in with you in a week later.
Yeah. And I mean,
That sound nice
I
to
know I
me.
joked about it in the beginning, but anytime that I've gone to our house arts, I really do feel like all of my concerns have been taken seriously and I walk out feeling better. Of course, I've never had anything like really, really serious happen to me. But I feel
The only time I've ever met with a Dutch doctor and been
Oh my
like told
gosh.
to take paracetamol and felt like my needs were not met was the time we met with the Dutch doctor in Fukuoka in Japan,
yep, which is bizarre.
which is bizarre.
Yeah, and he prescribed you paracetamol.
He did. He prescribed me a high dose of paracetamol, and he did a couple tests on me, and I walked out of there with the exact same problems I came in with, and
He said to
absolutely
just
no
leave it out.
recourse.
Yeah, so you had a little.
It said the only time I had issues with a Dutch doctor was actually not even in the Netherlands. It was actually in Japan. But I think it's awesome. No money involved, no copay, nothing like that. Going to see the doctor in itself is actually free, and I guess it'll cost if you get prescribed anything or they have to do certain things. But just going to see the doctor and I guess talk to them and then listen to you, it's free, and then you get prescribed this paracetamol, I guess, in a lot of cases. But I feel like I said earlier, just as a patient, to go to the doctor and feel like your concerns are actually being heard. It definitely feels really good, and so I can understand why a lot of patients would be happy with that system. Now it seems like I guess they don't prescribe unless absolutely necessary. We're here in the U.S. I feel like they're ready to write a prescription at a moment's notice. But that's really great. I love that you don't have to stop at the front desk. You don't have to do any of that. You're in, you see the doctor, you're out, you're good. They listen to you, your concerns are heard, and if it's absolutely necessary for you to receive certain medications, prescribed medication, they'll prescribe it for you.
Little bit of both experiences. Just it was overseas.
It was an exotic experience.
Was exotic.
It was
wasn't
just that was just like a weird situation
was
where
so
like my
worried.
experience, my like stereotypical experience with Dutch healthcare has never happened in the Netherlands. It's only happened when I met with the Dutch doctor at a clinic in Japan.
Yeah, he's just trying to hold up the Dutch doctor stereotype
Yeah,
over,
he's just
over
trying
in
to.
Japan.
Yeah, he wanted to make me feel like I was at home.
Yeah. Okay. I think the next thing, you were talking about your specialist visit a little bit, but before we dive in a bit more into the specialist experience, I want to talk about the underdog of the healthcare field, the dentist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you really call them the underdog?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's
Underdog?
what's the right word?
I don't think it's underdog.
The underappreciated.
Underappreciated might be right.
The underappreciated field of the healthcare world,
Okay.
the dentist. This was actually a add-on that we didn't take
And
advantage
I don't think
of.
anyone should take advantage of unless you have like dental issues.
Yes. You should not take advantage of it, unless you have concerns or ongoing dental issues,
But what
because
was it?
you can visit any dentist website. Their prices are regulated just like the
Oh, are they?
healthcare. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the cost of a cleaning in the Netherlands is the same. The cost of
no
a
matter where you
filling in the
go.
Netherlands everywhere is the same. So you can really get a good idea of if
Okay.
the things that you feel like you require on a yearly basis are going to be under or over that amount if you're paying out of pocket, which was so crazy for me to be able to go to a dentist website and actually see the price for everything before we actually went to the dentist.
That is
It's
was-
important if
very
you're paying and you're not covered by insurance. You want to know what you're going to get.
Yeah, which was really
Exactly.
surprising. This, though, is where we experienced the longest wait time.
Yeah, and it was hard. Yeah, we had to wait a long time to get in with the dentist in Dordrecht.
Yeah, I think we had to wait 6 plus
Everyone else, like we
months.
reached out to a ton of people too, and they were like, "No, we're not accepting new patients."
Yeah, I had some people that just like never followed up with me because I'm assuming they're just so busy.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting about going to the
She said
dentist,
we had to wait 6+ months for a dentist. Yeah, even that's unacceptable. Y'all talk to me in the comment section. Have y'all had these type of issues? Because I just feel like maybe with the urgency of certain issues, they get you in faster. If it's like you got an abscess tooth or anything like that, or you need a root canal, maybe those are more urgent, so we can get you in quicker. And maybe if you just need a cleaning, 6+ months is still a crazy amount of wait time. But maybe that just gets pushed to the back. God dang.
here is they have way more flexible hours than the doctors here. Some dentists are open 7 days a week, all day long.
Oh my
I think
God.
our dentist is open 6 days a week, all day long, which is very different than in the United States because I feel like dentists work very much like Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Yep.
So you can get evening hours here, you can get weekend hours here. It's not really something that you have to worry about. So the dentists in the Netherlands are really, you know, putting in the work.
I mean, they're literally putting in the work because I've never had my teeth hurt more than during a cleaning in the Netherlands.
Yes.
I don't know
Oh,
if that's
really?
common or if it's our dentist, but you walk out of there, you know your teeth are clean because it is just like they are chiseling the shit out of your teeth.
I know. I was going to say like, oh, my cleaning experience here has been really similar to the United States, but I actually think that they are way more thorough
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I had
They're not gentle in the least.
No, I kind of had to tell
Oh.
them like, please stop it. It hurts.
Yes.
It's like I think you're taking the tooth part off. But I walk out and I've got like spaces in between my teeth that I didn't even know existed.
I got teeth on teeth. I got teeth I haven't seen in years.
They uncovered an extra tooth.
Yeah, I mean, it's also weird because they separate the checkup with the cleaning. Whereas in the
Oh,
US,
yeah.
you go twice a year typically, and they do the cleaning, and then your dentist comes in and actually just like does the checkup. Whereas
Yeah.
here, the checkup is done, and then they decide if you need to get a cleaning and at what interval.
Yeah.
I feel
So
that.
there's a little bit of a difference there, but fundamentally, I mean, they are looking to see if you have cavities and checking on the quality of your teeth overall. They do X-rays just like they would in the US, and then
Once a year or whatever.
yeah, and
it
then they'll
is.
do 6 months or 1 year on the cleaning too, depending on what you need. And they
Well, they suggest a year
very
for
thorough.
you, but they suggested 6 months for me.
it's a great question.
Are they just trying to get money out of me, or are they?
How many
seem-
cavities have you had, Michelle?
I haven't had one in a really long
Okay,
time.
but how many total?
I think 4,
Okay, well, I've had one, so
and I don't
I
even
think
think
that's
that was a
probably
real
why.
cavity.
yeah. Oh, my God,
this
don't get
is
me
a
started.
story. I'm not sure there's enough time
Dentists
for
in
this
the
story.
U.S., I think, are like
I have too many cavities, bro. I just can't. Like I said, I don't got insurance. I can't pay the out of pocket price. I paid a root canal out of pocket. No, actually, I was on insurance. No, it was out of pocket. They gave me a special credit card that I could make payments. So I didn't have to pay it all at once because it was like $2,500, bro. And I was like, Jesus. But I made payments and I paid it all down. I think you have like 2 years before interest is tacked on. So I mean, when you break it down like that, the payments weren't that bad. But still, it's a lot. And maybe it was cheaper than that. Maybe I'm exaggerating because my payments weren't that expensive. I was paying like $25 a month. So it wasn't that bad, but root canals are expensive. And then one time, I had to go to a 24/7 dentist. It was like emergency because, dude, I couldn't sleep. My tooth was in so much pain. I was literally like crying at 3 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I tried everything over the counter. I tried every remedy. I just had to get it pulled. And it wasn't that expensive. I did have insurance. I think it was like $100 or something. But I was just like, pull it, please, for the love of God, get it out of my mouth.
there
They're
are some that are just
trying
like
to make
looking.
that money.
Okay. I don't want to get into this too
Tell the
much. It's a
short
huge
version because we
deviation.
do have to move on.
There was a dentist that we met with in Cincinnati when we were living there between 2013 and 2018.
And this is their address and this is their
Yeah.
name. Don't go to them.
The last time we met with them, they told me that I had like the beginnings of a cavity and they wanted to go ahead and fill it. And I was just like, that sounds not true.
That sounds like bunk.
And I just didn't want to get a cavity filled. And I was like, my teeth don't hurt. I'm just going to wait, which is not a great decision to make. I understand.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was. So, but I just canceled it and then we ended up moving. And then I went to the dentist after that, once a year since then. and they've never said I had a cavity.
No, not even like the
Dang.
inklings of a cavity. I actually went to a different dentist
It's
in
also been, what,
Cincinnati.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It's been almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And it hasn't developed into anything.
I went to a different dentist after that in Cincinnati, and they said they were like, no, you're great.
Yeah.
It's fine. Crazy.
It's just, there's such a scam with not every dentist, but certain
No.
dentists in the United States are just like trying to like tell you you have
Upsell you on
cavities. Yeah, so they
everything.
can make money from.
Or like Invisalign or like all of these other
'cause
services that
they can
they're
charge the
making the
insurance
money
companies.
on.
I'm sure doctors do it too.
Yeah.
It's just, harder to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Like we kind of alluded to earlier, in order to go to a specialist in the Netherlands, you're going to have to visit your house arts first, and then you'll get referred to that specialist for like a specific concern or a specific test. And to me, the referral process from the house arts to the specialist has been the most frustrating part of my healthcare experience. in
Because
the
they just go ahead and
Netherlands.
schedule it for you without asking what your availability.
They do that, but sometimes they'll call you, or sometimes you have to call them. Like, there's just no standardized referral process in my experience. So you never really know what to expect, or even like how long you're going to have to wait for something. Sometimes you have to wait 6 weeks, sometimes it's 2 weeks, and you just don't really know like exactly what's going to happen.
By the way, the wait is typically in relation to the urgency
severity.
of the situation you're dealing with.
That's what what I said earlier. That's what I figured. Because wait time for me that long, I feel like certain issues are just you're gonna be brought in faster.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's not like, it's mostly, Michelle's mostly mentioning as like an inconvenience because of scheduling.
Exactly.
Not because like we've had to ever wait longer than we felt that we needed to based on the severity of the thing we were.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when I was dealing with a specialist referral and I was kind of concerned about how long it was going to be, I asked my house art specifically about that, and she was actually able to say, oh, they'll call you today, and it'll be probably about 2 weeks based on that. So if you dig into it and you are worried, I do think there are ways for you to be able to figure out like how long that's going to be and maybe express your concern
Yeah.
a little bit. So
I think it's important just to mention that because I think one of the like go-to arguments from Americans who are arguing in favor of private health insurance and the terrible healthcare system in the United States is wait times.
but
and
it's the same.
I do. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I do think there are wait times here.
Yeah.
But, like in general, like I've never felt like I was being improperly cared for. But yeah, you're right. I mean, especially in the last place we lived, Austin, I waited 6 months to meet with a specialist once.
Yep.
It wasn't severe, but like it was still really inconvenient because I had to deal with and continue to deal with the thing that was wrong with me
Yeah.
for 6 months just before I could even meet with a specialist.
Which is crazy. And
Yeah.
I mean, my concern was less serious than yours, but I had to wait 6 weeks for a dermatologist in the United States, and I had to wait about the same amount of time here. So it was essentially the
Yeah.
same. There really was no, difference between the two. And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes your specialist will be in a hospital, or sometimes your specialist might have their own practice that you go to. Like my dermatologist that I went to, he wasn't inside of a hospital. I just had to go to his practice. And my specialist experiences were two very different experiences. I had one that was great. People were really nice and friendly and helpful. And then the other one was kind of like the exact opposite of that. Like that person had no idea what to do with me. They saw me for 2 seconds and they were like, no, you need to go to the hospital for this.
Probably pretty typical with anyone.
Again, really
Some doctors
similar.
good, some doctors bad.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
similar to how it was in the United States. So I would say like there was nothing surprising.
I like my
about that.
specialist. I like my hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've had a great experience with all of those things. I mean, I think just like with anything else, your mileage will vary. Your mileage may vary. And you unfortunately can't like pick. But like really in the United States, like you can't, there's no means for you to actually have a good choice either. Like you can't like,
Didn't you get to pick the hospital that you went to?
you get to pick, yeah, in a lot of cases if you want it, because you don't have to go to your house, you don't have to rely on their referral.
Yeah.
Depending
Oh,
on the
right.
insurance you have.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you, unless you have someone that's recommended
That's true.
that to you, how do you know who to go to? Like they've done such a good job in
feel
the
that.
US of like making it so you can't, like there's no like reviews.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like it's
That's
hard to
true.
determine. I mean, the two cases I had that worked out really well for me were both cases where I had someone else that went there or referred, like not in a referral capacity, but
Yeah.
said, no, you should go see them. They really know what they're doing. And I had great experiences with them. But like, that is not common. And I bet you if you had a similar story here and it wasn't completely like an insane thing for you to ask for, and you had a problem that, required someone who really knew what they were doing, your house arts would probably accommodate that.
Yeah, I really think that they would. Do you have any final thoughts on healthcare?
I love healthcare here. I think, nothing is perfect, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
There's pros and cons.
There's pros and
everywhere.
cons, yes. And, everyone has different healthcare needs. So, like, if you have no healthcare needs, I mean, you're going to love healthcare in the Netherlands because, you don't have to worry. Like, it's there if you need it. But if you don't, it's very inexpensive for most people.
All right, that's it. Netherlands. Sign me up. Netherlands sound right for me because I don't have like any conditions or anything like that where I do have any healthcare needs. But it would be nice to know it's there in case something did happen to me, in case I got injured doing something, in case I got really sick. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But it would be nice to know that it's there if I needed it at an affordable price. Unlike the U.S., I'm like, since I don't really need it, I don't really want to pay monthly for the health insurance prices.
If you need to use, healthcare in the Netherlands, and you have like conditions that require you to go see certain people regularly, I should say. I'm assuming you also have a good experience too, but who knows? Healthcare is just such a personal thing for most people. The things I really like about healthcare in the Netherlands is, one, as a self-employed individual, it costs about a third, maybe a fourth of what it would cost per month for us to have health insurance in the United States. In the United States, we would be paying
$2,000 a month
Yeah.
as self-employed
and that doesn't
people.
include the fact that in the United States it would be shitty coverage. It would have a terrible deductible. It's like in the end, the total cost would be significantly
so
higher.
much higher because you'd be paying for everything, paying for every doctor's visit.
And
blah, blah,
as
blah, blah.
as people who are self-employed or on YouTube, like that is hugely beneficial for us because it takes a huge weight off of us.
Facts.
And in the United States, there's so many times as your healthcare is attached to your job that like it causes a lot of stress.
It's
because
holding
like,
it over your head.
If I change jobs, is my health insurance going to be good there? I've changed jobs before, and they won't even start your health insurance for 1 month after you get started.
Sometimes it's 90 days.
Yeah, and it's like it's so messed up that they're doing this to like make you obligate you
To work.
to work. Whereas like in the Netherlands, like plenty of people here, have jobs because they need jobs like anyone else does to make money. But the difference is you don't have like that the stress of impending medical debt over your head like you do in the United States, because you can still go into crazy medical debt because of a terrible deductible, services that aren't covered fully.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that here. Because like your insurance either covers.
That is the case, which absolutely freaking sucks. I think that's the reason for most bankruptcies in the United States. Don't quote me. Look it up for yourself. But I want to say I seen somewhere that's the reason for most bankrupt in the United States is medical debt, bro. Because it's insane.
This thing's fully, or it goes to this like really low deductible, and you just like it can't happen here.
Yeah, it's wild that like my mom went through something and she had a full-time job where it was enough to support the both of us, and she still went into severe medical
that's
debt
so messed
because
up.
of this. Like that should not be allowed.
You can change jobs without the stress of worrying about your health insurance. You can decide to go self-employed without worrying about it, and that to me is like true freedom.
Yep.
Because like healthcare, you only have one life to live, and you want to make sure that you maximize that life as much as you possibly can, and staying healthy is a big part of that. And you don't want to have to worry about things that like if you're getting too stressed at work, you don't have to worry about that. If you want to go do your own thing, you should be free to go do that if that's what makes you happy. And that's basically the system that they have here. I mean, private insurance maybe I'm sure a lot of people have feelings about that. That was probably a decision that I'm sure some people were in favor of, some people were not in favor of. But fundamentally, like even in that system, it's actually easier for me to look at the United States and be like, wow, it's so screwed up. Because you come over here and you're like, well, this is essentially the same thing.
Yeah, it's closer to
Why
it.
is it
and
so
it's
messed
like,
up there and not
everyone's
here?
like, in the United States, it's so you're like, it's so far gone, it would be hard to like redo it. But you look at the Netherlands and you're kind of like, wow.
Or like that's just the way it is, and like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
just the system. And it's like, well, you look at another country and you're like, well, I mean, they're doing it
Yeah.
essentially the same way.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
so different that the big, giant, ugly knot can't be untangled a little bit.
And again, everyone's experience with healthcare is going to be different. I'm sure some people, you know, will have stories that are negative about healthcare here.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, as someone moving here from the United States, I can tell you the healthcare thing is just like, I don't worry about it here. Whereas the United States, I constantly worried about it.
Yep.
It was constantly a
feel
bill
that.
that I was worried about getting. I went to the
Yeah.
ER once in 2013 and the bill was
Oh.
outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what our insurance covered. It was
insane.
like, no matter what,
We were insured.
if you go to the ER
crazy.
and if you go to the ER and the service is justified, we will cover 35% or something of the cost. And then it was also like, if you go to the ER and we find that we deem it not justified, you'll owe the full cost, which is so messed up.
Yeah, where
It's-
you
that's what I don't understand is if I'm paying health insurance monthly, y'all should be covering my health expenses. But because let's say I pay health insurance all year, you aren't gonna reimburse me if I don't get sick or I don't get injured or I don't have to go to the hospital. You aren't gonna give me any money back. So the fact that when I do get sick or something does happen, I still have to pay money out of pocket, even though I've been paying you guys monthly for so long, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand that. I truly don't understand.
you're in pain or whatever's happening to you, and you have to try to think about.
I'm just like, I'm going into the ER
Yeah.
and I'm just going to pay whatever. But like, yeah, I was worried that like some group of people were going to
could
look at this.
bankrupt us.
Yeah. And then they're going to be like, no, he didn't really need to go to the ER. And then they just bill me the full amount.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I could complain about this all day.
I
Like
know.
fundamentally, the healthcare system here, I'm sure people will,
It's everyone's different. Everyone's
if
gonna have a
you've lived
different
your entire life in the
experience.
Netherlands, I'm sure you could argue that maybe it's gotten worse or maybe it doesn't work for you. But as someone coming from a country like the United States, who has probably one of the worst modern, healthcare systems, system might not be the right word, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
basically, it's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. Well,
all.
if you like this podcast, please rate it 5 stars wherever you're listening to your podcast.
Or 10 stars.
Or 10. You always say that. I don't think anyone does 10 stars.
You never know.
That's true. If you're on
never
YouTube,
know.
like, subscribe, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Let us
Or
know what your
sh-
healthcare experience is in the Netherlands
Yeah.
or how it compares to your experience where you live. I mean,
It would be it would be really interesting to kind of understand
Everyone's so different.
everyone's experience, whether you've lived here your whole life or you've lived somewhere else for a little bit. It's always just so fascinating to hear the different perspectives on healthcare
I
experience
just can't.
across
It's
the world.
so different in every country. Like, so different. Everyone has like their little take on it.
Yeah. Well, everyone in the United States thinks that there's universal healthcare in all of
Yeah.
Europe, which is some.
Or
I
40
get that.
minutes.
We still
but-
have a little bit of time.
No, we don't. When we went to go see Blink-182 last year, it was funny. The opening band, like, I don't remember what he was talking about, but he was like saying something about how everyone here had free healthcare, and I was just thinking about everyone in the audience is probably looking at this guy like,
You're such an American.
all right, everyone, see you next week.
Bye.
I mean, yeah, compared to the cost of U.S. healthcare, it may as well be free. But that was a great video. You got to hear some comparisons between U.S. and Netherlands healthcare, and yeah, our healthcare is just absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make sense to me how we have to pay so freaking much, yet so much of our taxes go to healthcare, which I don't know. I don't know. Y'all talk to me in the comment section any experiences you had in the hospital in the Netherlands. But that's all we have. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the next one. I'll see y'all next time.